So is the purpose of this to close the account?
I'm closing them all.
This one is to close, but a lot of them I just soon settle.
Settled.
What happens if you just want to pay off the balance and keep the account open?
That's what most of us want to do, and that's what we're working toward, is to get that, to be able to utilize that exemption so we can do just that. That's preferable.
Right.
Yeah, because we want to be able to use a credit card and get around. Can you imagine that if we can get people's heads right and attitude right, you got a credit card, and let's say it's an unlimited card, right? If you're a conservative guy, you love your fellow man and God, how are you going to use that card? Me, I'd use it on all my meals. I'd buy a car every couple, 2-3 years with it. I wouldn't be out buying everybody cars that I could and all those kinds of things. It's not doing them any good, right? But what would it do to the economy? It's kind of like people say, what if you just did away with all the money today? Mm-hmm. And everybody kept doing what they're doing? Wouldn't everything be just fine? Yeah. But until people are ready to live the law of consecration, and I'm not unsure that we're not being pushed into that direction right now anyway. There's going to be a lot of people that are really geared for having their exemption number and utilizing it. And the government's going to have a list of people that are deserving of it and pass. This is where merit or reward is going to be. So I might one day be able to find that my credit cards are being able to be set off and the payment made to stay open where yours might not. Why? Because somewhere in there, somehow I've been judged responsible to use that and keep people working, right? Because you can't just have everybody working in that one vein producing products. You have a proliferation of products. They pay farmers tens of billions not to grow every year because we'd flood the markets with food and there wouldn't be a stable economy and all sorts of stuff. And of course, you got to tax the people, so they don't really deserve lower price things. But how else are we going to bring? What if they're actually doing some things? Here's China. Is China now dependent on the United States? Yeah, absolutely. We consume their stuff, keep their people working. I'm not so sure that isn't meant to be. And they can then bend China and their human rights into being more democracy and people and this and that. Otherwise, China's got to do what with their people? Like what they do in the 30s, 40s, 50s? Would they kill 30 to 80 million of their countrymen? Numbers are as low as 30 and as high as 80 million. And no idea. Man's inhumanity to man is rather interesting. This is not an easy place to run. So I wouldn't be so quick to condemn this government of anything. 3,000 people dead in the Trade Center. I can see a whole lot of reasons why to do it for the benefit of all. You and I don't like being inconvenienced at the airport, but I'm thinking about all the crazies. These people, what do you mean? They wouldn't do that just to... Yeah, they do. They get depressed and they kill their kids and their wives and commit suicide all the time. What's wrong with these kids that go murder other kids at school because they got picked on? Hell, school, all those little cruel-ass little bastards do a good service. How else are you going to learn about people, man? When you're a kid, you're a sponge. You got to learn about these things. What if everybody was a nice guy? And you come out of there as a young adult trusting everybody, thinking they're nice guys. Hand them your paycheck, money, all, and you'd be getting stripped and you'd be lost. School, it's really interesting how this whole system has some real good positives to it. I'd rather see us all living in total harmony from cradle to grave. But that isn't what humans do.
History.
A republic if you can keep it. God, think about Teddy Roosevelt, his comment. We of this mighty Western Republic. A sovereign cannot make excuses for his failures. Can you live with that? You know, I had the wife divorced me when I first went to prison because 9 years and 3 months seemed like forever. She got conned out of the $30 million, the family fortune, and trusts, and notes, and buildings, and everything else. And I consider 8.10 years and $30 million and a wife a pretty cheap price to get this education. Is it? In my opinion, it is. Why? 13 through 18. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, that getteth understanding. It's better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. She's more precious than rubies, and all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her. Man, I'm wholeheartedly into that. What care I? This worldly stuff in a big sense. I don't. Wouldn't it be nice if we can all get to that level where we're working to help them? Man, they got inventions they don't let come out because it would destroy whole industries in the world.
That's right.
Right? We can't have that. We got to. What is government's job? Under Keynesian economics, which hold that full employment and a stable economy, depend on the continued governmental stimulation of investment and spending through the adjustment of interest rates, tax rates, and deficit financing, etc. God, they ought to make the tax code easier. Man, that would unemploy how many tax guys we got and lawyers working on that and all this stuff. What are you going to do with people when they got plenty of stuff? It just takes a few people to grow food today. They got to pay them tens of billions not to grow the stuff.
Or burn it.
And what do people do when they still have time on their hands? Man, they're scamming on their neighbor's wife or husband, or down at the strip joint, or in the drugs, or crazy things. Govern yourself, or it will be done for you. Count on it. And it is. Hell, they drive drunk, and they don't even got the good sense not to drive drunk and kill their neighbor. Who thinks they can drive under the influence with any kind of reasonable care and concern for their fellow man? None of those alcoholics can sit there and tell you, yeah, I can. When they're sober, they're not going to know. They know they can't, but yet they continue to do it. Thank goodness for this government. A strong, powerful government. Especially protect us from a bunch of dictators. Because that's what we would be living under, monarchs and dictators. We're all fearful of one world government, right? It's here. Thank goodness. I love it. What is it?
Contract law.
Contract law. Now you're talking. Think about it. All that matters is that we just didn't know the rules. How could we play the game, a sophisticated game like life, without actually knowing the rules? Man, now that I know the rules, most of it, I'm just jazzed. I truly love this government. Have respect for them and their stuff. I want them to respect me and my things and my children. That's my child.
How come we've been so misled all these years? They hide all this stuff from us.
They hide it all. Let's look at, do they really hide it all?
Well, in plain sight, and then public school system there.
Let me see. John Stuart Mill in 1850, a book called On Liberty. Almost mandatory reading for the longest time in school, right? In it says, anybody sends their children to public schools is a fool. I looked up fool when I read it. It said victim of a trick. 1850, they told you don't do it. Don't send them to public schools. But they'd be like a lot of parents, hey, we don't need to send the kid to school. We need farm workers. Right? They're hurting their kids. Government put in public schools because the parents weren't educating them. Think about it. Go back to them Kentucky howlers and some of those people in Texas and stuff, in the deep areas in the deep south and stuff. And man's inhumanity to man is not rivaled anywhere else on the planet. They didn't do anything to us. We did it all to ourselves. They've been telling us all along. In 1945, the Supreme Court said, this is in Hooven and Allison versus Evatt. They said, this is the last time we're going to define United States. They've done it so many times. The term United States may be used in any one of several senses. It may be merely the name of a sovereign occupying the position analogous to that of other sovereigns in the family of nations. It may designate the territory over which the sovereignty of the United States extends. Or, 3, it may be the collective name of the states which are united by and under the Constitution. Can you define running for me? Dan the Man, can you define running? Well, I'm a painter, so I don't know what you're talking about. Paint running down the wall, politician running for office, your nose is running, the athlete is running, the motor's running. My gosh! Context is everything, isn't it? How did it disturb the United States? How confusing. He said, well, so's running. No, it isn't. You're just not used to speaking law and understanding that words have lots of meanings. And context is everything. Wow. And in fact, the term United States is used and defined 31 different ways in the United States codes. It says in this chapter, it'll be defined as Samoa, D.C., and the conterminous 48 states. Over here it might say it's just D.C. and Hawaii. And over here it might say it's Hawaii and Alaska. Oh, well, then it makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, because they're saying different things in those different titles. And they relate to different subject matter. But people think that they're trying to trick us. No. Just get tired of trying to teach y'all grammar rules and basics. And we got some cities and counties where we got 50% dropout of high school kids. Dang. Do you think these kids don't know that if they don't finish high school, their life isn't going to be more difficult? But they do. They still drop out in droves. They just can't do what's good for them for their life. You got to be an idiot to think you're going to drop out of high school at 9th grade and do good in life. Sure, well, you know, Dale Carnegie or Andrew Carnegie did the steel magnet. That's then, not now. And back then, you know, they matriculated to Yale and Harvard at 14 and 13 years old. So you had quite the education even by then. These are different times. It's the best of times. And if you can get the true picture of it, you're going to love this government and the Canadian government. You're going to love the IRS and the CRA. You're going to love this game called contract law because you're going to start getting remedy on all your stuff. Walmart doesn't want to cash a check because I don't feel like giving a Social Security number. That was a nice one. I like that. I got paid good on that one. Took 10 days to collect from them. They understood law real well. That's what I like about Walmart. Took Western Union less than 8 hours to settle up. I like these guys. But don't go in there whining and groveling. Go in there asserting your rights. I had a little deal with Western Union. Some money was transferred to my bank on a Saturday. Sunday it wasn't there. Sunday evening I get on with my guys. I said, you do? He said, yeah, we wired. I said, well, you got the paper? He says, yeah. So let's get Western Union on the line. So we're on about midnight, Sunday night. And I got him talking to this agent. I said, well, you know, he says, the money is in your bank. I said, well, it doesn't show on the computer. He says, it's there. I said, well, my bank's pretty good about those kinds of things. So I'm a little concerned here. He said, and we're having more conversation. Pretty soon he says, you know, by the way, the agreement says that it could take up to, 5 days. I said, well, when you got paid the fee, this goes back to contract law and goes back to the San Francisco deal, okay? Remember, they got legally married 3.5 years ago, but she thought she was married 11 years ago. I don't care what California law says. No state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contract. She had a contract 11 years ago. So, I says to Western Union, I said, when we use Western Union, we're presuming that it's wired immediately. Nobody pays you that size of fee to wire on the weekend when I could do 1/8 that fee on Monday and have it Monday morning or that day. I said, so I don't really care what the back of your contract says. And I'll agree that it probably says that. I said, the greatest mode of advertising is word of mouth. And I says, if you think I'm going to say anything good about Western Union after this, I said, I don't know about that. Didn't say I was. Didn't say I wasn't. I said, what do you think I'm going to say? I said, and on top of that, I made an agreement with your agent. There's an express agreement it will be wired, just like you told me just now. So I said, I don't doubt you put it in my bank, but I tell you what, my bank, Wells Fargo's either got a big problem or you do. And I don't know which one of you does, but somebody does, and messing with my money is going to be very expensive. Matter of fact, I suggest you might want to call Walmart and ask them what it's like to mess around with my money. Next morning, I called the banker. He said, oh, no, the money came first thing this morning. It was in your account this morning already. I said, God, I love these guys. Yes?
I'm not sure if I heard the story about Walmart. Could you tell us about it?
I bought a cashier's check for $186.40 at a Walmart and near where I was living and working. I went downtown to pay a bill. It was off by 40 cents. So I said, oh, my bad. So I go to the nearest Walmart. Go to the service department. Want to exchange his cashier's check? No problem. $3, no problem. Okay. We need your Social Security number. I says, well, I don't have one. Or we can't cash the check. The Patriot 2 Act, as of 2 weeks ago, the Patriot 2 Act in our store policy won't let us cash the check. I says, are you sure? She says, yep. I says, well, that's a violation of Title 5, 552A, which states in pertinent part. And I said, in Title 42, 408A8, and 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, and a violation of my God-given unalienable rights. And I consider that worth about 10 grand. What would you like to do? I said, may I speak to your supervisor? Supervisor comes, I give the same offer. May I speak to the manager? Same offer. May I have the number, district manager, and phone number. Now, I call the district manager, talk to your employee, talk to your supervisor, talk to the store manager. Oh, Mr. Hall, I can't believe we have thousands of attorneys. I can't believe they got the law wrong. I says, I appreciate that. And I know that's how you feel, and I don't blame you. And I said, I'm looking forward to an animating contest between thousands of Walmart attorneys and me. Oh, Mr. Hall, we'll have someone call you from legal. I said, that'd be just fine. In the meantime, I bought another check and went back. When I went back across town that day, I just went in and cashed the check at the same Walmart I got it. Guess that store policy is different than that store policy. And, of course, the Patriot 2 Act was just passed a couple weeks ago, back in 2001, right? So, we just got around to implementing it 8 or so years later. It's okay. These things happen. And so 2 days later, I got nothing. So I sent out my hello, how are you? Private notice, international remedy demand. We agreed to a $10,000 penalty. The store employee, and therefore I'd like my 10 grand. If you want to mess me around, it's 50,000 more. 2 days later, I got a call. By the time I sent it, 2 days later, I get a call. Send it certified. 2 days later, I get a call from a George something or other with Walmart, attorney in Bentonville, Arkansas. He says, got your paperwork. We have a nice little chat introduction, real nice to each other. He's real courteous, friendly as all get out, like all Walmart people are. They're very professional. And he says, I got your paperwork, but I don't know what you want. You got no numbers or anything on it. I know he's looking for an argument. Right?
Yeah.
I want to know whether I merit a reward. I said, gee, George, my bad. I thought I'd put it in there. Let me get my copy. Oh, here it is. Well, you've made mistakes, haven't you, Mr. Hall? I said, of course I have, George. I'm not going to go with the condition. Of course I have. Nothing wrong with answering that question. You bet I have. Well, why are you holding this one against Walmart? I said, is it a mistake if the employee, the supervisor, the store manager, and the district manager all do it? Well, I'm not authorized to settle this. I said, oh, please don't trouble yourself. Let's just let the paperwork take care of it. No, let me call you tomorrow. Calls me the next day. Hi, how you doing? Good. How you doing? I go here. I says, he says, well, what do you want to settle? I says, well, wasn't it in the paperwork? He says, oh, come on. What do you take? I says, are you making me an offer? He says, how about this much? I says, I don't think so, George. He says, well, I can't bid against myself. I says, please don't trouble yourself. Let the paperwork take care of itself. He says, how about this much? I said, if I receive the money forthwith, that means immediately. He says, someone will be in contact with you tomorrow. Next day, no call. Next day, certified mailer with the money in it. 10 days from start to finish. I like those guys. I'm telling you, commercial law is good. I love that warden at TI. I love Walmart. I love these guys. They know commercial. I'm doing one with Farmers Insurance right now. They've been very complimentary about the paperwork. I said, well, obviously you're very, commenting to my client, you're obviously very astute in contract law, blah, 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 blah. I said, these guys are nice soft soap in this one. They're going to pay, too. They're going to pay the claim. Their agent represented there was coverage. There wasn't. He made an honest mistake. Not my problem. I don't care what the policy says. That's not the contract, is it? It's merely a record or memorial of that contract, meaning the agreement. That agent represented my client had coverage, and that's why we gave him the check. I don't care what the record or memorial says. That's not the contract. I'm making a claim, and they know that. Interestingly, the agent got a call and said, we're thinking of censoring you and maybe firing you and fining you $7,000. Interesting, my guy's deductible is $1,000. It's an $8,000 claim. Isn't that interesting? It's all about contracts. You married people, you unmarried, you make agreements, commitments. It's the most beautiful thing. And it's really nothing more than a little 1, 2, 3 step. Now, it's a little more nuances when you try to get into getting it enforced in a public thing here or there, but there's all sorts of ways to enforce it on the private side, and you'll learn how to do this. Don't worry about getting it all. I got to know how to. You'll get some samples from Juanita and us. Here's what we did on this one. Here's what we did on that one. Here's how we filed this. You can do the same thing. Got the warden's attention when I filed it with the UCC division of the Secretary of State's office. It hit his credit report. That's what locked him up. What do you think would happen if you had a large judgment hit your credit report? What do you think is going to happen maybe to some of your credit cards? You think the credit card companies don't consider revoking them now when they see a big judgment? It starts to affect you commercially, doesn't it? You bet it does.
Yeah, I have a little question. Dealing with people and enforcing claims and so on, don't people come up with like limited liability company to protect themselves from any personal liability things? And
Go ahead. It's nice.
Lawyers have their bar insurance and things. And,
yeah, that's all great. What's that got to do with my contract?
but you can still make a contract with them as an individual.
Oh, heck yeah. What's that got to do? I had a contract going with the president of Walmart and the store manager and Walmart itself. Why do you think I got a little attention there? Not just Walmart. I'm sure that president said, somebody fix this problem. The guy says to me, 10 grand for 10 minutes of your time, Gordon? I said, what's it cost for the president of Walmart's time? I said, you think for 10 grand I can buy 10, 20 minutes of his time? I don't think so. Write him an offer. See if he'll give you 20 minutes time to talk and visit for 10 grand. I don't think so. He's a busy man. He'll take his time with some lunatic who wants to buy 20 minutes for 10 grand. Besides, he gets paid more than that. In all likelihood with stock and options and running a $400 billion a year sales company. The time to mess with people like us. Or anybody else that is in business. He's busy.
Hey, what about leaning up these judges? That doesn't sound like a good thing to me.
Well, I would never lean a judge.
So, I mean,
That's a dishonor in my opinion.
Yeah.
What's the judge done to you? Where was your claim? Are you a lunatic? Lean that guy up, see what happens to you. The prosecutor, what do you do to you? Your enemy's your remedy. Why would you lean up people that are there to help you? A lot of these patriots saying, lean them up, get their bond, do what? They didn't do anything to you.
Doing the job.
They're doing their job. That's right. And what's their job? Help you. They're either going to help you learn the hard way, or they're going to help you learn the easy way.
What happens if a judge actually breaks law? And
Breaks the
denies-
contract?
Yeah, denies your...
See, I wonder what the appellate court would do with a show cause order why he shouldn't be removed from office.
So you would do a show cause order, not a lien.
Absolutely. What do you think? You think he wants a show cause order put in to the appellate court? Where do you think he wants to go from that judgeship? He wants to go up, doesn't he? He doesn't need that mark on his career. I'm going to lien his bond. Tell me one guy that collected money on some judge's bond. I ain't heard of one yet. Not that it couldn't be done. But where did he violate? You could get him to agree on the private side because he sort of has to. Boy, you've been dishonorable. You're just not doing it for the right thing. That's my opinion. Most judges are great guys and gals. They know what they're doing. They know their job. Why would they deny you your contract? Their job is to sit there, and if they can trick you, they're going to do it. They don't want any riffraff through. The only reason that you should lien a judge is there isn't one. He won't be a judge much longer if in fact he violates the contract, but I don't see him ever doing it. They're so good at what they do. They really enjoy the game.
Well, guys have told me too, when a judge is not honoring the sovereign, the court sheriffs run up to them and say, "Here's my card, and I'm here to protect you."
I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of strange stories I've heard. And I've heard some really cool stories. But I don't think a judge, I just can't picture, certainly no federal judge, and I doubt a state judge either. I've been in with this Arizona state judge over here with John Stewart, and this guy's sharp as a tack. Just sharp. I love the last one. I'm just a facilitator. God, he's good.
So do you recommend writing a security agreement and leaning your own straw man to gain control of it?
Nah.
No,
What do I care? What's it got to do with anything?
You do it with every single individual.
No matter what you did with that, ain't going to be anything. Remember, it's assert your rights.
Right.
Here's my security agreement. I'm this and that. Hey, I'm the secure party creditor. Well, on what basis? Because I say I am.
Right.
I like asserting my rights.
But you do it based on your acting.
That's right. It's about 7 o'clock already. We were going to go till 9, but we didn't take a dinner break. So why don't we just roll for another hour and then break for the night,
Sure.
if you'd like, or whatever's comfortable, so y'all can get maybe another half hour and you can get out of here to have dinner early enough. Because normally we take like a 2-hour dinner break. So, but we can stay as long as y'all feel like. But maximum, another hour will be max. So we, 8:30 tops.
We're going to take a break for 15 minutes.
I'll accept that.
And we want to roll for another hour and be done with it. We go to dinner, relax, and all that.
Sure. Well, you guys roll for another hour. That's your break.
Dennis, you want to have that cigarette.
Oh, okay. Now let's take a break for 15 minutes.
No, let's wait till he goes and then we'll have a break.
We'll wait, brother.
I already got it. So, something else about it.
And
Can you talk a little bit about the idea that the more people that become creditors and behave in this way, the better world will be. But not everybody is going to have the right heart.
Yeah, that's okay too, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Do we really care?
the reason I'm asking.
We'd love them to be creditors, but they're not going to be, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is because, I don't know, I've heard some talk about 2012 and some kind of shift. And,
I love the Bible. No man's going to know the time.
Yeah.
The Mayan calendar ends. Okay?
Yeah.
I got other stuff to worry about. I live in the moment. Why would you worry about 2012?
I'm not worried about
I like it. When Y2K was the big buzz, I said, I'm having a hard time picturing nuclear plants, this whole world's going to shut down, all this. And I said, I don't get it. I got some neat articles at Y2K, this and that's going to be the end, and yada, yada, yada. I just go with, what's the best form of social control?
Here.
Just fear-mongering. Who the fricker to mind? They're not even around anymore. It's their calendar in 2012, so
They
what?
kept the calendar going, except the Spaniards interfered with that, probably.
What do I care? I just know what God said. No man's going to know the time. And what did Christ say? Not even the angels know? And so we're going to prognosticate? Let's see. They said the world was flat, right? Do you think they really believed that?
No.
No, they didn't. That was just stuff they promulgated to a bunch of commoners. But anyway, then the Norwegians have been sailing the seas. They had maps of the world long before. Oh, for God, we just buy everything.
I guess what I'm really asking is, what is your mission, if you will, with what you're doing now to try to teach as many people as possible about this? I'm just interested about your thoughts on what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Well, I make good money doing it. I also have a lot of fun doing it.
Okay.
Great answers.
That there's a great purpose involved in it. It's just cream on the deal. I'm not like a major altruist. Brandon and is far more altruistic than I. However, my actions are far more altruistic than his. I've got clients that don't. I've got clients that don't pay, and I still take care of them.
Yeah.
I got people that have never paid, and I work with. That doesn't mean that they get great service, but at this point, I don't often turn down anybody's phone call, or it takes a while to get it.
Yeah.
I might ask them, do you not think a workman's worthy of his hire when they continue to take advantage week after week, this and that? Or they want me to teach them fundamental basics, and no, you got to go on the internet. CIC will give you that free. I'm not going to go over silly little fundamentals with you when you're being just too lazy to go and get it yourself. We give it to you free. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the same thing in person that I tell you that's free on the CIC site. Although it's so much better to get it in person. That's what the immersion program. Don't ask. I understand why it works.
You know why I'm asking, right?
Why?
Yeah, I'm asking you just because I'm interested in knowing more about who you are as a person, like you're doing. That's all.
It's a combination of all of those things. I really enjoy doing it. I got other things to do besides from 6 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. I don't want to keep doing that heavy a schedule. I'd rather tune down and have it moderate a little bit in my life. But also a lot of people are in great need of help. It's hard to turn down some people. Some I do turn down because they're so far down that being able to get there is just hopeless. I had a gal email me. She said, I'm in bankruptcy. I'm getting ready to be arrested and go to jail for felony conviction. I need help. I don't have any money and this. God, I don't even know where to help the gal. I recommend go do this, and this, but I don't even begin to. She's got emergencies that she doesn't have the capacity to learn in that short a period of time. What she really wants is someone to come in and save her and do everything for her, and I can't because I can't save you all. I could teach you how to save yourself. I see it also, you see enough of these gurus selling this garbage out here that the forms are going to do it. I just don't believe it well. I haven't seen it working. Now, yes, forms work in a lot of areas, but I don't see the GS forms work in a lot of areas. It's administrative law stuff I see working all the time for me. I see it working for Brandon, and I don't doubt there's a lot of other guys doing it too. I understand that there's several other people whose forms work real nice for them. I'm trying to get it into simplistics. I know what it's like to be hard-headed on this stuff. I remember trying to learn it when I was first in it. God, I was slow. Oh, I was miserable. Just, what? How do you do this certified mailer? I remember, some of the guys were so upset. What are you, nuts? I said, look, I'm just having trouble, guys. I just need some help. I don't get it. It just takes a little practice and a little work. So I understand when you all don't get something. I was way worse than you guys. So, but.
Well, I sure admire you for doing all your time and taking the energy to go forth and learn all this stuff. I mean, it's just so admirable. Wow.
Well, if you were in prison and I'm a real estate developer. I've done about $1 billion from my own account. At 29, I built the largest private lived-in home in America. Been on Rich and Famous, People magazine. Started 24-hour fitness. Owned banks, public companies. I've been around the block a few hundred times. I've been a very successful businessman. I'm nobody, but I've been around the block in business. Huge. Had some wonderful times. And then I asked God, as I always did, for wisdom and knowledge. Oh, that's a mistake. He gave it all right. It's not a mistake. I got blessed with going to prison for 9.3 years. And, well, is it? Where'd your last 9 years go? Would you miss it, really? What if you'd gone to a great school, finishing school, and learned a bunch of stuff, got to test stuff, do cases from double murder to putting wardens, having them arrested? God, you can't buy that kind of joy. It has to come with something. And in that light, I'm the one who's been blessed this last 10 years. You all, I feel bad for. You all out here struggling. I know that. When I was coming out, I was saying, oh man, what am I going, man? I hope I really got into the habit of enjoying my studies. Like, there's a poem about habit I really like, and I've got it not well memorized, but it goes like this. I am your constant companion. You know that one. I am your greatest helper, blah, blah. Who am I? I'm habit. God, that sums it up. You know, to go to prison.
Whose is that poem again?
Huh?
Whose is it?
I don't know whose it is. It's anonymous, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's the first line?
I am your constant companion. I am your greatest helper, or your heaviest burden.
Yeah, if you Google that, you'll probably...
Yeah. Or I can send it. You know, it's I say it every day, so it's just getting better and better. And I have it memorized.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I speak to groups, we'll have to see a new
I'm curious because you have a very impressive memory, and I'm wondering whether you always had that or whether that came.
And I had trouble getting through school.
Really?
Yeah, I was lucky to get B average, and only because you got an A in athletics, and I liked English because you just did book reports, and I read fiction books like a fool. You know, didn't read good stuff. You know, all I can say is thank God for God. You know, He raises up those whom He wants for what He wants.
Flashcards help, right?
Well, the envelopes, you know, you'd be surprised if, you know, in my car in the visor I got, you know, poems and different stuff that I want to memorize and repeat them a lot of times till I burn them in like you would like the Pledge of Allegiance or anything else. When you repeat it, it never leaves you. Like James Allen, you will be what you will to be, let failure find its false contentment. I memorized that one like 25 years ago because I used to give that at my health club, you know, promotion sales to the managers and the salesmen and stuff. So once you start memorizing that stuff, you just get a mind. You just practice it, and this stuff's important to you. All law emanates from contract or agreement. Therefore, law is contract, contract's law. And you just ponder that, and you let it roll on your mind, and you keep reading over and over and over and over till you see it. And then it's a thing because you know you want to bring it up in different things and settings, and you think of yourself in front of policemen or judges or whatever, and you start getting this stuff, and you're not going to quote all these esoteric poems and comments and things I've got, but for me, when I'm in the hole a lot or thing, I don't mind being in the hole because I have lots of things to look at, flash up in the mind, quote and poem after quote and poem after quote and poem. You know, court cases, this, that, definitions. I just love reading the dictionary. It's about my favorite book. And I can just sit there for hours and get into one word, and I'm looking up one that meant that, and I forgot what word I started with. I can like spend an hour on one word, and I get a thorough understanding of it. And it helps me to get where I need to get. And then when I'm typing stuff, I get in front of the computer, it just comes to me. You know, just comes up because there's something in there to get. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and take root there produces its own, blossoming sooner or later into act. You know, it's just, you know, you read poems like Habit and that James Allen stuff, and you start understanding a man's mind may be likened unto a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and produce their own kind. Golly, just, that stuff is so edifying. You know, I watch a little TV, and when I always get done watching TV, I go, God, this is a waste.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't feel good. You know, it's nice that I don't like to do it much. I do like movies now and then. And I do like a little, I've been a little bit crazy about working lately. You know, I just don't even care about taking time off. You know, but it is, to some degree, a little tedious because I guess some of my students are calling me at 11 o'clock Sunday nights just a little bit. You know, I'm saying, I would really, you know, I'm trying to relax a little here. Maybe we could talk about, no, I'm really going to, all right, what's the problem? You know, but I know what it's like to be on the other side, to have a problem when you need these things. So I empathize greatly with that because I've been there and done that. I used to call Jack, you know, and just 1 to 3 hours a day when I was going through that deal. But he had a student that was, you know, willing to try anything, you know, going to jail, and we learned so much together on that one. That was like so good. And to watch that 4.8 million 2 supervised release cases fall by the wayside, and to finish that story with the that unit manager, he said with that court order, that is a court order is where we were going with that. So I said, well, I conditionally accept your court orders upon proof of claim that supersedes a federal district court order, and handed it back. 3 days later, he calls me in his office and he goes, you know, I've been in the BOP for 20 years, and in all my career, I have never seen a court order like yours. You don't have to do any supervised release. You don't have to pay a single dime. You don't even have to give me a release address. I said, you're learning, Jacoby. And that was the end of it. Just a beautiful congratulations. The day I leave, the guard on the floor says, you know, I heard you're leaving today. I said, so the rumor goes. Just be relaxed about it. It happens, it happens. You know, I'm expecting it to happen, but I'm not going to get all weirded out about it in case somebody do pull something funny. You know, I want to have be like a twit about it. So he goes, you know, they're not going to release you unless you give a picture. I said, I conditionally accept, blah, blah, blah. A couple hours later, they call me to go, and the guard at the elevator, a different guard, says, hey, they're not going to release you unless you give a picture. And I said, I conditionally accept, blah, blah, blah. I get down to receiving and discharge. Nobody asked for a picture, nothing, and it was time to leave with 3 other guys that were going out that day in the building. You know, they asked for the name. The guys will say, give their name and a number. And look at me, and I say, the defendant, you know, the inmate's name is Gordon Hall. His number is blah, blah, blah. They just smile and go to the second door and do the same thing through it, and I walked out and never been contacted since. God, they're beautiful guys. They don't give up. They checked right to the last minute. Yet a week before they said, you don't have to give in. You don't have to do anything. I never seen an order like that. Nah.
What if you gave a picture?
I don't know. All I know is I don't think it would have affected anything, really.
Stand your ground.
Well, you know, I was 5.5 months in the hole. The first 90 days, they were like 3 to 5 times a day, 2 to 5 times a day trying to get a picture. And then it stopped, you know, threatened to take me before the judge, this, that, and the other thing. In 5.5 months, you know, the staff there comes down to the whole area twice a week. You know, the whole, you know, unit managers, team managers, assistant wardens, sometimes a warden, this guy, that. You know, there's like 7 to 15 of them that come down on that floor twice a week. So they're trying to get the guys back in the general population, showing it's really an interesting system they have. And like the day before I got out, the captain comes by as usual. He says, come on, man, Hall, give us a picture. I says, just a picture? I'm playing with him. He knows I always play with these guys. I says, just a picture? He says, you have my word. If you give just a picture, you don't have to give anything else. I says, just a picture. He said, you have my word. I says, come by and see me tomorrow. Yeah, I know he ain't going to do it. They come by tomorrow, but he isn't there. One of the guards, you know, there's about 6 or 8 of them this time, and so one of the, you know, suits we call him, goes, congratulations, I heard you're going up on the floor. Great, man. You're going to be able to have food and be with the guys and watch TV. It's football season or whatever it was, basketball season or something. And he's doing this rah, rah, rah and congratulating me. And I says, who told you that? Because you got just this little window that looks in there. And he goes, he's still the same. About 30 seconds later, this head unit manager, I forgot his name now, pokes his head in and he goes, you had me worried. I thought you were going to break weak. Ooh, what a cool thing to say. And I said, what do you think? They leave. About an hour later, they come by and say, roll up, Paul, you're out of here. I said, where am I going? He says, I don't know, you're just off this floor. Put me in general population. I said, I never saw anything like this. No picture, no prints, and they put me up in general population. This is great, when you know my luck. But I learned a lot when I was down there. So, and the hole's not like a real bad thing. It's just lonely in there, and sometimes a little cold, and also, there's no extra food, and so all there is to work out the mind, the body, the heart. It's really, when would you or I force ourselves into a bathroom for months at a time and to have true self-examination and introspection? What are we, stupid, crazy? We ain't doing that. We can't afford to pay someone to bring us a little food once in a while and all that, right? Hell no. So it's really a cool time if you get your head around it. And to guys that are in there a long time, it's no big deal. It's not like you're in the dark and this and that. And even if you were, so what?
Smell like Papillon?
Huh?
Papillon?
Not even close. They ain't feeding you gruel. They can come in and give you. It's not great food, but it isn't bad. It's not like slop. It's like you get one little piece of fruit and one little tiny 1 ounce thing of cereal and a little thing of milk, that little half pint of milk, and sometimes a Danish, but I mean, it's more than enough to feed a guy. And lunch is a little better, and dinner ain't bad. Sometimes it's like pretty meager for a guy that's working out, but basically there's nothing wrong with it. They're not starving anybody in there. They're not beating people. They really treat you pretty good.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
My friends on the street. I've heard that they say that inmates complain they get steaks too many times a week.
You do what?
They get steaks too many times a week.
Get what?
Steaks?
Steaks.
You get steaks when?
Too many times a week.
They get tired of it. They get
Too many
often.
times a week.
No chance. You kidding? You see those once or twice a year. You ain't getting steak.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. You get some hamburger that's pretty questionable. You get some food that you don't eat sometimes. I could never eat certain foods like peas and this and that. Boy, in that hole I learned to eat peas and they tasted pretty good. And what's the greatest spice man's made? Hunger. So but the food is not bad there. I mean, it's not the best in these places. I've been in lots of county jails, and some county jails, man, you're on a serious diet. It's very small amounts, like a half an egg, for breakfast and a little bit else. But it's nobody's starving you. Not working you out in the cotton fields every day. This government really treats you good. No, you don't want to be there, and it's not in the least bit comfortable. And you can't, some of the food is, I've worked in the kitchen, it's many years expired, it's rotten, and all sorts of things. They'll boil rotten chicken and feed it to guys. Man, it ain't no joke. They'll do some pretty crass things, those COs will. But nonetheless, it's not bad. What do you want? You're in prison. And it's really, to somebody that's in tune with God, it just ain't a big deal. What do the scriptures say about the body? For if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. What's mortifying mean? Punish, like as in fasting, asceticism. That's all.
There's other meanings too, right?
Yeah, but in that context, that's exactly what it means. To deny. By fasting, asceticism, that kind of thing. It's great.
Did you have access to books and a library?
Nah, you just get access generally to crap fiction books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you study? Where did you get it from?
That's an interesting thing. You know, my stuff would come in, there would be a paperback dictionary on that stand where it shouldn't have been there. I mean, God took care of me. Guys would send what I needed in, my paperwork or whatever would come in, or something that I hadn't. And I used to write thousands of words in their definitions and study them all day. I had this little paperback dictionary. That's where I got on the merit. That last trip in that hole was, I got merit down. I said, I got to look up every word. And I looked up merit, it said quality, deserving, reward. Oh, that didn't click anything in my mind. And when I then went to deserving, it said, have by conduct a claim to man. Oh my gosh, there's that word claim again. And it all came clear. And this is what, Jack, everybody now understands the rest of this game. It's not the paperwork that's going to do it for you in a federal indictment or a murder case deal or something heavy, or going in for public ratification of your private for a Harley or anything else. This is the key. We needed it. Nobody was touting this. Nobody's telling us this. It's everything. And it makes sense too. Perfect sense. And we're winning them all with it. No question about it. And it's well received. It's not like they're down on us or anything. It's a wonderful thing. So, God has His ways. Be careful what you ask for, you might get it. One of my assistants, Deepak, he says, Lord bless me with wisdom and knowledge, but no jail. Qualifies, no negative input on this for me. And ask God for what you want. That's what He's there for. You can do this contract stuff. It's really it's so exciting, because all of this, I wanted it brought down into simplistics. Jack is far more cerebral than I am about this stuff. I'm just practical about it. It doesn't matter to me if the paperwork's real right. I said, Jack, I can make an IOU stick, a postage stamp stick. What's it matter? He says, you got a point. I said, go easy on these people. You're like talking up here to them. I said, I understand, but me and one other maybe. And I said, you nuts, Jack? He's up, man. Jack's so good. We need him. He does stuff I can't do. He has such good. He's been at it 30 some odd years. Mm-hmm. He's just he's a blessing to be around. Him and Brandon both are just sweet guys, and they care about you all as I do. We really genuinely love and like you. I love my fellow man. The guards, I loved all those guys. The ones that were mean, I loved them. I said, we had this Warden Woodring, man, he was a disciplinarian. When he got there, I said, man, this is going to be great. We're going to get into it for sure. Because this guy did everybody there. He's a great warden. And look what came out of it. And truly, where Jack tells you, the government does reflect your attitude. That's why it's important for you to love them. When you go into court, know that judge is truly there and that prosecutor is there for you. You don't want to lean them. Those guys are there to give you your remedy. Love them. Now, they're not going to act like it, doggone it, but they're there to give it to you, and they're well. I saw that public defender Judge, I don't think Mr. Stewart knows exactly what he wants at this time. And I'm really busy this month and next month. And Mr. Charbel Sheetik, I'm going, whoa. I've heard they switched sides, and man, it was perfect. And every time that I've asked for abatement of proceeding, we've gotten it. The reasons have always been weird. Legal research said we got to put it off 60 days, and Deepak went in. I mean, this is consistent with 29 tickets, 10 arrest warrants, and he goes in there and craziness. It's all about attitude, and they will reflect you. That's why you don't want to come in with this, for better lack of a word, the patriot attitude. The rev scammers or any kind of reviling or whining. I absolutely love these guys and appreciate them. All of them, the attorneys, all of them. They're not going to fare well at Judgment Day, perhaps. Not my business. And they're doing this for us. to learn this game. What a beautiful thing. And they have to put up with us in there. It's beautiful. They can't respond. It's the best.
Now, when you the judge walks in and everything, are you standing and everything?
Very good point.
'Cause lots of
John and I,
judges-
when we first went in for his first hearing, they said, all rise. John and they stayed sat. Now, in my very first hearing on revocation of probation for our supervised release from moi, I'm sitting in the back of the courtroom, and the judge says, is Gordon Hall in the courtroom? And I stand up and say, I am here today as Gordon Hall. I'm reading. I told you I had to read it, you know. I'm here today as Gordon Hall, secured party creditor. I forgot what else I said. Secured party creditor, private trustee, for the purpose of helping the parties settle all claims or charges outstanding, to bring resolution, settlement, or closure of the matter. If it please the court, may I enter the bar under said terms and conditions. But didn't let me enter the bar. And he just went on talking. I stood there standing, and we had this conversation. The U.S. attorneys, probation department, supervised probation department don't say a word, just the judge and I. I'm outside the bar in the gallery section where public sits, and he's up there, and we're talking back and forth, and he got into, and that hearing lasted 10 minutes when he said, I'm giving you an order to be back next Thursday, blah, blah, blah. And I said, would it be all right, Judge, if I came to the hearing next Thursday, July, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I have another matter to hear now. And I left. The second hearing, this time, wild. Sitting in there, the clerk announces, and we're only people in there, there's a few marshals and some government people. And the clerk says, everybody seated, stay seated. Those standing, take a seat. In walks the judge. We're on the private side now. Wild. No rise. Stay seated. And take a seat. And he said, come on in.
To you.
Yeah. I walked in the bar, you know. I said, in terms of, he says, yeah, come on in. I said, let the record show I'm entering the bar, blah, blah, blah. And walked in. I didn't mind. It's on the private side. We're not public. We're in chambers now. Now, it can go back to public in a second. I'm already in there, so you got to be careful then.
How?
Well, on the fifth one, I'll get to it. That's how. So we'll get there shortly. So that second hearing lasted 20 minutes, back and forth. I'm going through my sheets. The third hearing started the same way, all seated, remained seated. But this time I'd gone down to the clerk's office, got the latest entries on the docket, accepted them for value, and put them in 5 minutes before the court started to the clerk there, who took them back to the judge. Court started 5 minutes late. It lasted about a 90-second hearing. And he bolted from the courtroom. I'd heard it happen, but I'd never seen it. I had DHOs do it, but I hadn't seen a judge bolt. And this guy bolted. Two guys who were with me said, man, we should have a stopwatch. He's moving so quick. They're being a little facetious. But it was impressive, because we were close to getting it settled. Fourth hearing, all stay seated again, and that one was like 6 or 7 minutes. Fifth hearing was all stay seated, came in the bar again, except Jack and I had talked. Well, there was a story about the guy going to the IRS, and the IRS said, if you're willing to play the defendant today, we can do this. So we put in a letter, got all this going, and yada yada. Long and the short is, I enter the bar, and the clerk says, is your true name Gordon Hall? Or she said, she said, is your true name Gordon Hall? And I said, oh God, I got to do this to be the defendant. I says, yes. So I tried to act like the defendant, but I hadn't. So I screwed the thing up. The long and the short is, and I got a contempt of court charge on that one for that.
So what should you have done?
I'm here as Gordon Hall, intervener.
David.
That's all I had to say. Don't have to get all real verbose. I'm here as Gordon Hall, intervener. That's all I had to have done. But Jack said, we need to get you in. You need to pretend to be the defendant, and blah, blah, blah. And it was a pretty interesting scenario that got us all there. So, and shaking. There's some long stories about it, but nonetheless, that was the bottom line. You can be in there, and if you want to get on the public side while you're in there, you'll be public again in a moment. The minute I answered yes, we were public. party was over.
So what happened when you screwed it up?
I got a 4-month contempt charge for that. It was good because
What, just being on the public side that quick?
yes, yeah, latches entered into it that time. Inexcusable delay in enforcing a claim. It was entering the bar. The judge had not got the letter. The attorney had the letter and assured me, oh, it was this, that preclude my rights. I stepped into the bar, one, without an agreement. And then when the clerk asked that was the second time, and that was it. So I screwed it up.
So you should have done what you normally do.
What?
You should have done what you had done previously.
Yeah, I should have simply said I'm entering the bar as intervener. Let the record show that I'm here today as intervener, entering the bar to help settle all claims or charges. Something like that. That's all I had to say. Instead, the judge said, come on in. And I said, you received the letter? And he said, no. And I walked in. I needed to have he got it, but he said no. And I should have, which reserved my rights, this particular letter. But, in the back of my mind, Jack says, you got in there, you got to be the defendant.
What was the purpose of having to be the defendant?
Because Jack thought that's how you had to get in there to settle the matter based on some story we'd heard before when it was in error. So that's all. It was just, I was game for testing things. My buddy Seehausen said, where's the contract that obligates me? I didn't want to keep going to multiple hearings. I wanted to try and learn how to settle it. Is this the way we go? I could see now where the mistake was. I'd given him a letter and the clerk, and I'd asked him if he received his letter, and he said no.
So he was lying.
That or receive means to let in. He said he didn't let it in, is what he did. So he wasn't lying. Does that make sense?
Well, when you asked him if he received it, what were you meaning by it?
Well, that's a good question. There's ambiguity there.
Yeah.
Did I mean, did he get it in his possession? Did I mean he let it in and we have an agreement? And what did he mean when he said no? And it would have been incumbent on me for clarification, not him. It was my error, no question about it. He did his job. I can only say I admire him. I tell you, these judges are good guys and girls.